IVM.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of TFG Indian Football Podcast. I am Kevin, joining me from Nepal. Chiranjit, are you in Nepal? Yes, Chiranjit is in Nepal.
Man. Dude.
No.
Dude, I just crossed the border and I can't even explain how much relieved I'm feeling, because you don't miss having the ability to call all over India for free until you lose it. You know, and the moment I went over there and I had to pay like for $4 per minute for, and stand in a line for an hour and a half to get a new SIM card, local one. Until that, you don't realize what you're missing. I felt so refreshed, man. I just walked over the border. I saw my Airtel has started working again. It was like, I feel like I'm home.
Please note again, that was, he said he walked across the border. That's possible. We are in India right now, both of us, thankfully. Chiranjit had a great experience there, following the Indian football women's team there. And again, great news being brought by the women. And it just extends our SAFF championship to 5 in a row. Chiranjit, what an experience you had watching the ladies, and some brilliant performances from at the individual level, along with the overall team performance there.
Yeah, dude. I mean, usually you just look at the SAFF Championship. There's not that much of a competition there for India, but this time. Only Nepal you were worried about, right? Because they just beat us in Hero Gold Cup in Odisha only last month. And everybody knew it was going to be India and Nepal. And I was literally the only Indian journalist out there. So from the day one, India was playing Bangladesh and Maldives and all that jazz. But everybody was like, we're going to, face each other and all that stuff. You start getting these passive-aggressive treatment from the local fans who are expecting, you're the ones that we have to beat and all that. But yeah, it was good sport, and the final just turned out to be better than I had ever expected. Probably because we had that amount of tension, because literally everybody knew we were going to beat Maldives like 5-0 or Sri Lanka 4-0. Nobody really cared. But going into Nepal, we knew we were up for a fight. The players knew it. The stadium was full, and it's just a small stadium with 10,000 capacity. But you don't start to feel, the pressure until you hear them scream together. And the gallery was just right next to the pitch. It's like slightly bigger than Cooperage, so you can imagine the experience that was there. And it was. I think a lot of the players were facing a hostile crowd for the first time. That's why the start was a bit jittery. Nepal started well. They were keeping the ball. They were putting together attacks. They were the better ones in the final third. I think throughout the first half. Thankfully, Dalima Chibar scored that world-class goal. I mean, did you see that goal? That clip has gone viral. And dude, just first, let me just hear from you what you thought of that goal. The way she just floated that 40-yarder into the goal.
I am going to get some hatred for what I'm going to say next. I believe
I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Dalima Chiba has scored some awesome goals, and we know her caliber. We've seen her score nothing less than awesome goals. But this one really didn't look like directly it was aimed towards a goal. It looked like headed towards the crowd of players attacking the end of the ball. But probably I'm looking at the wind played a part on this, and the ball, instead of coming into the box, I think it just went right into the almost like the top corner. So for me, slightly it didn't look like an intentional free kick, heading towards the goal directly. Probably, the wind had its part to play, and I know, it's just my opinion there. Probably you can hate me for that, but that's what I felt. It didn't really look like it was aimed towards the goal. It was aimed towards the crowd of players heading towards the end of the ball.
you're going to get a lot of hate, man. And you totally deserve it. I thought you were going to point out something else, but we'll come to that later. But first, let me correct you. There was no wind. Literally. That was part of the reason why some of the players were struggling. I think it was a conscious decision or instruction from coach Memo Rocky that even like 22, 23 minutes in, somebody picks up a little bit of a knock. They were just taking a long time, just lying down on the grass so that others can get some water, because it was hot, it was humid, and there was some wind early on. But I remember every little bit of feeling during that free kick, because it seemed like, it took, the whole process took some 30 seconds to play out. It seemed like 30 minutes just waiting for that whole shit to happen. And I remember the air was still, everybody was still, there was anticipation everywhere. And guess what happens? Dalima Chibbar lines up. I'm looking at this is 40 yards out. I mean, I know Dalima Chibbar is really good on set pieces, but I've never seen her score a goal like that. I'm thinking she's going to go for the wall. There were like 6 players on the wall waiting for the delivery, and I'm looking at who's going to run up. I'm thinking maybe Sandhya will go get a header, or maybe somebody will chest it down, and maybe Sanju, she's got good acceleration, so she can get to a point where others will not get to in a very short amount of time. So I'm thinking, who's going to put the finishing touch on this? And then the ball just goes up. And first thing, I agree with you. The ball's trajectory, the first, let's say 1/10 of a second, it made it seem like it's going to go into the crowd. And I'm like, this is done. And I think the ball just floats a little bit further, and somebody next to me, a Nepali journalist or probably a fan, it was all mixed up because the gallery was standing room only and everybody was spilling into everywhere. So somebody was just calling it, like, yeah, that's a goal. I'm thinking, impossible. There's no way that ball just dips that low and comes into the net. And then it starts dipping. Yeah. I was like, yeah, okay, but the keeper will get it. And then I look at the keeper. She's standing like, I did not see, because I was looking at Dalima. I saw her take position, and then I looked away from her. And then I looked back that the split second that I looked away, she had actually taken a couple of steps forward to take a position, which was a fatal mistake.
And I'll tell you, you won't fault the Nepalese keeper for that, because you don't expect a right flying free kick, heading towards the goal directly. You're looking at the crowd that's coming in, and you're on your toes to make a dive towards either a low left or a low right. You're not looking at a top corner from a right flying free kick. That was
exactly. And then when I see that she's just taken a couple of paces forward, meanwhile, I'm like, oh shit, she's in the wrong position. She won't make it. And then the ball just dips. And it's, I think till the last 1/100th of a second, it was not clear whether it was going to clip the top end and go outside, or it was going to go in. And it went in, and literally the fans were so loud throughout the game. They were cheering, they were chanting Nepal, and all these other local language songs that they had. Everything just felt pin drop silence. And the players were cheering, the bench was cheering, everybody was hugging, and I was jumping up and down in the press box. Yeah. And literally everybody was like, okay, this guy has gone crazy or whatever. And some fans started cursing at me and all that, but it was all worth it. I literally lived out, man, on those few seconds. But here's what I thought you would say about that free kick. The goalkeeper, somebody was pointing out, I think it was a Bangladeshi journalist, said the goalkeeper did not have the height to cover that end. At that, when you are 5'4" or 5", if somebody puts a ball exactly at the top end corner, there's literally nothing you can do except to just watch. Because I don't think even if she was just standing there, she would be able to jump up and cover that spot.
I wouldn't agree
might
to
have still
that.
gone.
I wouldn't agree to that because goalkeepers are trained
Okay.
at saving every extreme end corners. That is the top left, top right, and bottom left, bottom right. So I think the problem there was anticipation. I think what she was anticipating is, as we said, you're looking at a crowd that's coming towards you. You're going to be ready to make a save that's off a header, off a volley. You're not expecting the ball to come directly at you, and especially when that ball is floated. It's floated. It's not coming at you at speed. It dipped in the last minute, last second. So that's the reason you can't be anticipating such deliveries. And there would be correcting. You probably know you can never spot a keeper who's not the tallest and not being able to save the top corners unless you're just totally not anticipating that. But let's take a moment for something that was not seen by other teams, or probably we've seen India doing at halftime. And Chiranjeev pointed out that to the Indian coach Rocky Memol about the team not heading to the dressing room during the halftime, and her reply was interesting there.
Yeah, well, that has been happening throughout the tournament, and I was like, it's a bit odd. And she said that the walk is pretty long, but I don't really think that's the case. Maybe I have not seen the dressing rooms in that stadium, but it's a very rudimentary stadium. I think it would, if you're going to try to hold a I-League match, you would have a hard time getting the match commissioner to approve that. But that's where we are. That's the state of women's football. The facilities are not up to the mark. Even here, you knew that the town of Biratnagar loves football a lot, but the stadium did not have floodlights. So you had everything. You had the crowd. You had the fan interest there. There was a local TV channel showing the matches in HD. Everything was in place, but they had to do the matches at 3 p.m. local time, which is not good at all. I think the previous matches would have seen a lot more attendance if there were floodlights. I think it's something related to that. Of course, she did not want to come out and say bad things about the organizers right after you won a tournament in their soil. But and she said that something was discussed right at the reserve bench during the halftime, and the Indian team just came out swinging. And my theory was that I was talking to somebody after the match, and I said, maybe this is what I'm saying is this time I'll get some flack for saying this. Maybe it's the youth that made the difference, because the Indian team definitely had a lot more stamina in them. It was very obvious. Right after the hour mark, it was the Indians who were doing all the running, which was the opposite case at the start of the game. We had the younger players, we had the faster players, and we suddenly took over the game. And literally, man, there were so many interesting parallels between this team and the Indian men's team as well. Like, you can just look at Sanju and compare her with Udanta. The way she just runs, and she was using her pace to just leave the Nepali defense behind so often, which was awesome to watch. It literally mirrored the way Udanta uses his speed. Sandhya, you can compare her with Chetri. Also, this is not getting discussed enough, but when Nepal drew level in the first half, they were creating so many chances. There were back-to-back corners. There were periods of pressure. There was sustained threat to the Indian box. And Sabrita, she's the number 9 Nepali striker. She was getting so many shots on target. It was scary. And Aditi made some of the best saves of the tournament to keep us in the fight. Because if at that moment, Nepal get a second goal, the entire game changes, and I don't think we would have seen a win from that point, because Nepal would have played very differently. They wouldn't have to go attacking at all. Right? They knew they were. I think that was part of the math that the coach did, Nepali coach, that they did not want a 120-minute game. They knew that Indian players were going to last longer on the pitch, so they wanted in the first 15 minutes of the second half to play as much attacking as possible, get another goal, and then defend that. But it did not work out for them.
Yeah, that's there. I think the final really showed what both teams were capable of, and thankfully we retained the title. And 5 in a row is really impressive. What's more impressive is
only champions. If we start adding starts for SAFF like Bengaluru FC does for leagues and cups and all that stuff, how many stars would there be right now?
Yeah. So 1 goal conceded in the entire tournament. That's a mark of disciplined defense, and 18 goals scored in this edition of the SAFF Championship. What's more impressive is this team is likely to be kept together going into the Olympic qualifiers. So that's a good sign. Having them play more often, plus the focus will be on women's football now that next year the World Cup again is being hosted in India, the Under-17 Women's World Cup. Wow, what an opportunity, Chiranjit, for us to host another World Cup.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, everything is falling into place through that. And we're going to play Nepal again in the Olympic qualifiers. Then we're going to play Myanmar, who just beat us recently. It's going to be another opportunity for revenge. Memol Rocky does not shy away from calling it in a revenge game. I think that's what she said. I thought she should have probably just said no, this is just a game, no revenge. But she just went ahead and said it. Like, if you want to call it a revenge, it's a revenge. So she's not shying away from taking that angle. I hope she keeps up the Josh, as they say, when India face Myanmar, because that's going to be the ultimate revenge game for this coach and the new acolytes that she has brought in. The tournament began under controversy, Kevin. I think we should address that. The 7 Manipuri players who boycotted the national team camp because they alleged there was some favoritism by Memol Rocky and the assistant coach Chauba Devi. But it's like, I mean, I don't know. I have not seen what's going on inside the dressing room or the politics that's happening inside the federation regarding this. I just saw a team as united as it can be, and there was something heartening about just looking at. You could check out the unplugged video that we put up of the Indian team practicing, and you can just see the chemistry that the players have with each other, with the coach, how they're just playing kippy-uppies to warm up with the coach, and the way they interact with each other, the way Dalima Chibar and Aditi Chauhan, everybody dragged the coach to collect their individual awards, like most valuable player, Dalima Chibar. She refused to go alone. She took the coach along with her to make a statement that, to share the credit with her. And if this, if they can keep up this performance on the pitch and the unity that I've seen, the squad displaying, man, this is going to go a long way. This is the start of, a proper tenure for this coach. And I don't know what that means for the players that did not make it, the senior players, the experienced ones. But, this is the way it goes. If the coach delivers some results on the pitch, nobody's going to go and question her.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was it for the first half of the show. Happy talking about the good results and performances. On the other side, we'll not be talking about such happy news, but it's news. It's progress for us.
Now it's getting darker. This is where the show takes a darker turn, and everybody gets better and starts getting.
Yeah. So that's all. On the other side, come back to us after the break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure that you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So if you guys haven't been checking out Instagram, you should take a look at the audiograms. We're giving you excerpts from different shows. This is available both on our stories and on our feed. Also, we put these audiograms up on Facebook and Twitter as well. So, do kind of keep an eye out for them. You kind of enjoy them, I think. On the scene and the unseen, Srinath Raghavan returns to the show, this time to talk about the nitty-gritties about the 1971 war and creation of Bangladesh. Anirudh Kanisetti is back with Season 2 of Echoes of India from the 27th of March. On the first episode of the season, Anirudh is going to start from where he left off, the rise of the Gupta Empire. New episodes are out every Wednesday. It's the season finale of How to Citizen this week, and joining Meghnad and Shreyas is the comedic sensation Kunal Kamra. The chapter they discuss is titled Law and Social Justice, and Kamra shines a light on everything he sees unjust with our justice system. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam's guest is Gaurav Chopra, co-founder of India Lens. He tells you how you can get a good credit score, bring order to your financial life, the different types of loans out there, and more. On Shunya 1, Viral Mehta from Pocket Aces joins Shiladitya and me to talk about the growth of digital content. On IVM Likes, Abbas, Janam, Madhuri and Abhineet are joined by debutante Radhika to give out their recommendations and talk about Amazon Prime's latest original series, Made in Heaven. On Dating is Garbage, spoken word artist Aranya Johar is a guest, and she talks about unspoken dating rules and how to spell misogyny and chauvinism on the first date. On Geek Fruit, Jishnu and Dinkar discuss the latest sci-fi short film anthology on Netflix, Love, Death and Robots. And with that, let's continue on with your show.
Welcome back after the break, and here we are talking about Indian football. We talked about the first half. We talked about in the first half about the Indian women's national team securing the 5th title, and we get a focus back into the domestic action of the top tier, where ISL meets I-League, dang, Super Cup, but it's looking like ISL only. Plus arrows that's there in the tournament. Chiranjeev, what exactly is happening? Is the Super Cup really super right now?
Nobody knows, man. Nobody knows who's playing, what's happening. So, okay, this is what we know. And situations are changing all the time, right? So this is 11:30 a.m. on Monday when we are recording this podcast. And as of now, the I-League clubs have not confirmed that they're playing in the Super Cup.
I-League apart from Arrows.
I-League apart from Arrows, but Arrows is owned by AIFF, so that was a given. They are the only I-League club that or I-League team that played in the qualifiers also. But the jolt that we see, the Gatbandhan that they have made, or a club alliance of most of the I-League clubs, they have not confirmed that they are participating. Although the twist in that situation is that it seems, according to AIFF, now some Mohan Bagan sources are disputing this, but according to AIFF, everybody has registered a team other than Mohan Bagan. All the I-League teams. So I don't know if they are going to get an extension to register their squad, or if AIFF is going to come out and say, okay, all the matter is resolved and you're getting what you want, so come and play, and then everybody shows up, or nobody shows up, or which East Bengal team shows up, or how many clubs show up, or whether we get second division teams getting invited to play in Super Cup and then Star Sports pulls out, which is going to be another nightmare scenario. We just don't know so far. We just don't know. That's the breaking news of the day, man. We don't know. If there was a news channel covering Indian football right now, there would be that CNN wala ticker hoga niche. Breaking news, we don't know shit. So that's what's happening. So just to preface what has been happening is that so Minerva Punjab, Gokulam Kerala FC and Aizawl FC did not play the qualifiers because as we all know, as we have been talking endlessly in the show about that, they're going to kill the I-League and make ISL the new top division, and most of the clubs of I-League are going to be forcefully relegated to second tier, which the I-League clubs obviously did not want. So they wanted an appointment with Praful Patel, who is the AIFF president, to discuss the future roadmap of Indian football and try to get a clarity over what their future is. And at the same time, Praful Patel is busy with Lok Sabha elections. He's also trying to learn for the FIFA panel. So he was pracharing for everything. So he did not have time. So the qualifiers were boycotted. 3 of the matches were cancelled. Only the Kerala Blasters Indian Arrows match happened. After that, suddenly they realized, oh shit, they're not bluffing. They're actually going to boycott. So then AIFF gives the appointment and says, after the Super Cup, we will meet you on 14th, 15th, whatever date that they have given of April. So for now, you come and play. And right now we are in a pickle that the I-League clubs are saying you have to give Minerva Punjab, Aizawl FC and Gokulam Kerala FC a chance to play their qualifying matches because they sacrificed that so that we get the meeting. अगर मैचेस होने से पहले हमको बता देता कि मीटिंग करेगा, तो then there was no problem. The teams were there, they could have played. But deliberately AIFF delayed the decision so that these clubs get into this pickle that because they boycotted, they're not getting a chance to play in the Super Cup, which is, I don't know, man. It's dirty play from AIFF. The I-League clubs are also playing dirty. Everybody's playing dirty. Well, is there? Do you see anything positive?
So for me, it's a big statement made by the revolting I-League clubs there. They've taken a stand and they've stood by it, and we've not seen something like this for a very, very long time. We've seen Twitter revolts. We've seen statements made in the media, but this is the first time we actually see a big thing happening in Indian football, where everything is made clear. They've stood by what they said. They said these are our demands. It's not that we don't want to play. We wish to see something. We want to see a pathway, a roadmap for Indian football, which is something we've seen done by so many clubs in the past, but the maximum that they did was just withdrew out of the competition. We're talking about Dempo, Salgaonkar, the big Goan clubs. They've expressed this their opinion, their concern about having that ladder up there, having progress to be seen by everybody, but wasn't really taken up. And this is the first time we've seen something happening. It's a big level boycott. I think it just gets the attention of everybody.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that is achieved.
It doesn't get the attention of the media though. Everybody's covering T20. Okay, nobody is giving a shit about Super Cup anyway. But yeah, it's getting the attention of AIFF at least.
Yeah. And when we talk about a World Cup happening in the country, these issues really highlight, where people start searching about Indian football. And when this crops up in the news, it's showing there's a reason for the clubs, the I-League clubs, the top division. It's still the top division. When there's a boycott put out by these clubs, it really gets the right, it makes the right noises, if not getting the right the treatment that was required. So there's no meeting happened so far. There's no official announcement from the AIFF that this is going to happen. There's no agenda put out that why is the meeting going to be held, and there's no assurance given that even if these clubs are going to play again, since they decided to allow the walkover to be given. So it's all in a mix right now, but I think it will sort itself, given the huge statement that the clubs have finally come together and done. So great points put up, but I don't know. It's really considering it's feasible or no. 20-team I-League or the top division is what is being demanded or put forward as one of the agenda points. But I don't really see that happening, considering not really all clubs are doing financially that well. Not really all clubs are having that vision forward. We're talking about some clubs like Shillong Lajong, who's already they've broken off.
Shillong Lajong are out of the picture anyway.
So that's what you're talking about. You allow the second division teams to come in there. The corporate entry was always there for the I-League. And that's how we've seen Bengaluru taking that path and see where they are right now in 4 or 5 years right now. And this is, I think, a right moment for the clubs to take a stand, with India coming into the news again after a couple of years. The World Cup is being hosted. The SAFF Championship is retained by the women's team. So for me, it's a good way to take your issues forward. Great job done by the clubs. It really took some courage to get this done.
Yeah, true. But one of the things that has come out of this Gathbandhan, that Chunavi Gathbandhan or whatever.
Yeah, can you use another term, please, Chiranjit? It's really getting
I
into.
don't know. Very annoying term. I know Gathbandhan is a very annoying term, and it's very appropriate. That's the reason I'm using it. It just, the whole affair just gets me very annoyed. But one of the things that we saw come out of this, the meetings that the clubs had, I-League clubs, was that they put out a manifesto of sorts which charted a alternative roadmap for club football in India, which is the IFL that they're calling, which is just I-League and ISL merged with 20 clubs, which is a bit of a, I mean, it's the ideal thing, right? I mean, there's 2 clubs getting relegated, 2 clubs getting promoted from second tier, there's 20 clubs, which is the appropriate size for a country like India. We need to have a league with 20 clubs to really make it a proper national grand league. But the whole thing just hinges on the league generating 325 crore in sponsorship revenue, which is I just don't see it happening at the moment, because the whole it's gonna have like 350, 380 matches, right? Or 280. I don't remember the exact game, but the number of matches are gonna almost quadruple, right? If you're gonna telecast all of those in the quality that's equivalent of what the ISL gets, then the Star Sports or whoever is broadcasting it will have 4 times the money or the budget that's required for ISL. And if the expense is going up that much, I don't see the sponsorship revenue just jumping up to match it at this point. Because right now, let's not forget that everybody is losing money. Star Sports is losing money. Reliance is losing money. Parth Jindal came out and said, of course, we are also losing money. 3 of the ISL franchisee owners have come out and said, dude, we're losing money like crazy.
So, paisa kaun bana raha hai?
Losing. Yeah, sab log paisa. I'm telling you who's going to make the money. It's the football agents who are making the money. It's the footballers are making a little bit of extra money.
Thankfully, the players and coaches are being well paid.
तो अरे कोचेस का तो अभी तो निकाल देगा. अभी ISL will become top division, फिर Indians will not become head coaches. गया तुम्हारा money उधर ही. But I think it's the venue providers, it's the event management groups which are working behind the scenes, providing services at the stadiums. Those are the ones who are actually making money. Everybody else is losing money. But here's the deal. You have 20 clubs. If we are just looking at the I-League clubs that are there, or the ISL teams that are there, some of them are not in a position where they're going to attract big sponsorships. Like Delhi Dynamos, Pune City, Northeast United, maybe like they actually have a good base. But look at Minerva Punjab. Look at Chennai City, also not that big of a base. Churchill Brothers, really like. I think the last time they got a big crowd was when I think that was before I hit puberty or something. It was way long ago, man. I don't even remember. So it's some of the clubs will not get that kind of attention from the sponsors. So the basic premise that you're going to get a 325 crore sponsorship coming out of a league like this is not going to work out, at least for 5-6 years of even if you're promoting it heavily. And remember, the promotion budget will also go up, because you're not promoting 10 teams, you're promoting 20 teams. You're going to need more channels, because there will have to be concurrent games, right? So which actually cuts the potential viewer base to half, if you look at it. So the viewer base has to grow exponentially, and the sponsor interest also has to grow exponentially. And that's the problem we have. That's the mathematical problem we have with football, isn't it? Because a T20 cricket match will have 300 or 400 ads in a match. Because after every over, after every wicket, every power play, break, whatever there is, they're going to show an ad. In football, there's only going to be 45 minutes of action, then 10 minutes of halftime, then 45 minutes of uninterrupted action. So you have an ad time of basically 7 or 8 minutes. So even if you have, if ISL or whatever, IFL, I-League, forget the name, whatever league if we have it, if the league becomes as popular as IPL, even then we are making a fraction of the revenue from sponsorship and ads, because you're literally showing a fraction of the number of ads that a T20 match is showing. So that's a shortcoming that is not going to be overcome ever. So in order to make IPL kind of money, the ISL or I-League has to be 10 times more popular than IPL. And how is anybody going to do that? How is anybody going to create a situation where we have 50 big ad companies or 50 big brands are trying to invest 400 or 500 crore in a big Indian league. How? It's just see the basic premise. I love the idea of a 20-team league right now. I just don't see the practical application of it, especially when we have IMG, Reliance or FSDL who have all the power to do whatever they want with Indian football. And they have decided already that they're going to make ISL the next top division. At this point, no matter what all these clubs come up and say, we're not going to see this happening. Somebody needs to take a bold risk, which I just don't see FSDL doing. That's my takeaway. What do you think?
Yeah, Chiranjeev, what you rightly put forward is the advertising aspect, the revenue aspect, the profit-making aspect. We've not seen in 5 or 6 years of the ISL being there. Franchises have started to make money. Profits are put out.
They're not making money, dude. They're still losing money.
That's basically the idea. If there was a groundbreaking concept of marketing football like it has never been done before, and it's blown out of proportion in the print media, on social media, it's there everywhere. Visibly, visuals of teams, visuals of players, and the brandings everywhere put up for this gala event of football couldn't get you the money that you wanted to from the inception. You can't really expect it to come at least another 5-10 years going with the same concept, because that project, I think it would have been brilliant had it started rolling in the money at least down 5 years, starting to get near break even, but it's not even close. So we are back to square one. Was ISL really, has it done what it was evolved to do? Break away from the Indian. So what I'm getting to is, in the end, we're talking about investors' money, getting the returns that they have, put in. It's not happened. So it's not. It's a groundbreaking idea that has probably failed us. And you can't really have the practicality of 20 teams merged again, where it was already there 10 years back. And it didn't get the promotion, it didn't get the right revenue source, didn't get the right roadmap. We've seen clubs come up, seen clubs fade away, probably disappear. And the problem is still there. Football is not getting in the money that was expected to do. But what is the next step? We'll probably get some sanctions from AFC. We might get affected in our member rankings. We might, yes, we have the rights of hosting 2 World Cups in a short time, but that really doesn't get you the credentials of business development via football in India. So we really have a big question at hand.
True, because even the Under-17 Boys World Cup that happened, did the leagues get substantially more popular after that? It didn't. So we're still stuck in that same position. The ISL has come in and made football way more popular than it was before, simply because the I-League was never marketed properly. ISL has come in with a big marketing budget. They're making a splash. They're getting eyeballs, but not enough. If the TRP is like 10 times larger than before, if it's not getting you the money you need for the teams to break even, then there will be a point where you'll have to look at the franchisee fee structure, or whether that's actually feasible to keep going forward. I mean, for the first time, we have 3-4 ISL team owners saying, look, we're just losing money. And I think in a roundabout way, they're questioning the validity of the 15 crore franchisee fee that they keep paying. Now, we don't know where that money is spent, but we can assume a lot of it pays for the marketing. And that's what. So in a way, that's necessary. That has paid for the big launch that ISL has had, and the rapid fan acquisition that it has had in the first 5 years. But at this point, does it still make sense to carry forward with it? Especially because so many of these I-League clubs are not being able to join in. Because of this. I just don't know where we are going from there. It's a difficult question to answer. And what I hate most about it is that this is nothing to do with football. It has everything to do with market economy.
Yeah, Chiranjit, I think you've hit it on the head where exactly the problem is, and the footballing nation wants to know. Ta-dang, ta-dang. So that again brings us to the point that I think it's a great way to ask a question to the 5 or 6 year existence of ISL. Was it worth breaking away from the top tier just to get the revenue back? But again, we will be in the hope because it's getting tighter at the sanctions end as well. No country has been allowed to do this. Two concurrent major leagues going on. So probably we'll find a way, solution quicker than later. And that is where we will end this show. Great talking about Indian football rising up. Probably it's
let's just hope they rise up and play the Super Cup at least. Like, I don't know. I got my tickets booked. I'm going over to Bhubaneswar to watch matches. I don't know whether the matches will happen or not. Like, hey, kya ye mazak chal raha hai kya?
Yeah,
Dimag kharab hai. So we will come back next Monday with a show directly from Bhubaneswar, reporting the ground reality, whether there is a match or not. And that's the cliffhanger. Only in Indian football, you just don't know whether they will play or not.
Whether the teams that were announced will be playing or no, will they be showing or no?
Or who will show up?
Who will show up?
President's
कौन पहुंचेगा उधर?
Who's gonna come?
Yes. And what is this AIFF Super Cup for? क्या मिल रहा है इससे? Yeah, that is the question we will end the show on, and we will come back to you next week. Till then, if you're listening to us on YouTube, do not forget to like, share, subscribe. TFG podcast is one of the many podcasts that IVM produces. Do check their Android and iOS app that's available. And if you're listening to us on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, do give us a follow. TFG Football is on Twitter. Do follow us and do download IVM podcast app. Come back to us next week. Till then, have a great week ahead. Bye.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.
How aware do you think you are of your laws and rights? Do you look up to laws when you are caught up in situations? Do you know what your rights are when you're stuck somewhere bad? Well, here's a show that can help you move an inch closer to being aware of what your rights are. Tune into Know Your Qanoon with me, Amber Rana. This is a podcast meant to answer all your law-related queries. Catch Know Your Qanoon every week on the IVM website or the app or anywhere you get your podcast from.